Members, Mike Lovinguth from Arupa Jesuit, Kevin Ray from Fountain Valley, Carol Sams, Grand Junction, Damian Brown from Mullen, Justin Thomas from Skyview, and Kelly Presser from Rocky Mountain Lutheran. Our guests today, Ken Hare and Sean Stediford. Ken, obviously, with the HSSO president, and Sean with the CHSAA president. Welcome. This is an unprecedented year. We got also, Justin Saylor, welcome. Thanks for all your hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for your work. Thank you, Dan.
Ryan Casey, thanks for all your hard work this year. It's been a year that leadership has been needed, and you guys have risen to the occasion. So thanks for all of your hard work. We know that Whitney's the one that really drives everything over there, and all of her hard work. And so, it's just an unprecedented year. We like Justin was saying earlier, we've had a couple meetings since the last time soccer was played. So this meeting's going to go probably kind of quick, but want to make sure everything's out on the table and everybody has a chance to say what they want to say. We'll have additions to the agenda. But I guess we'll just do a welcome to everybody that's streaming on our platform, and just want to review the 2019 soccer committee minutes. Justin, you want to take that? The committee minutes.
Absolutely. So everybody should have gotten
the additions to the agenda.
Yep. So the committee, the 2019 minutes, everyone should have gotten the email from Whitney last week and then again this morning. So if you guys just want to take a minute to open up that email, review the 2019 soccer committee minutes, and then Dan, maybe just give them a minute or so, and then whenever someone's ready, they can just make a motion to approve the minutes. We'll get a second, and then all in favor, and then we'll keep going. So go ahead and take a look at those now.
Yep, sounds good.
And then again, whenever someone is ready, no rush, obviously, just we need a motion to approve those minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Mike Lovinguth.
I second Kevin Ray.
All right.
And, yep, Dan, just whenever you just all in favor, and then we can.
All in favor, say aye to approve the minutes for 2019.
Aye.
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 All right, unanimous.
That's how we like it.
That's how we like it. That's right. I was just saying how funny it is to be now at a school where we don't have men's soccer to be the chairperson of this committee, but I am looking forward to getting men's soccer at Resurrection Christian in 2022.
There we go. This is on video, so yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm committed now. Yeah.
No coming back from that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any additions to the agenda for this year? Anybody come to the table with anything?
We got nothing sent to us, but if someone from the committee has something, please feel free.
Yep. All right. Officials report. Ken, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Seems like a while since we did this the last time, and nothing much has happened since then. So obviously, yeah, been a kind of strange year for us. Being president for a year that we didn't play a single game. But we tried to keep our members engaged during the last year. We actually have done okay with numbers. With the spring season being cancelled last summer, obviously our year runs with the calendar year, so we made an offer to the membership, and we halved the fees. So it's normally $50 to re-up for the 2021 season. We offered it at $25, and we actually had a huge uptake on that. So it cost us money, but we maintained our numbers pretty well. So the actual numbers we have at the moment, we have 289 referees registered in Colorado. Not all of them have taken their test yet, but we have 289 registered. And I think we've continued the trend. We've lost some older referees, and we've picked up some younger referees, which is, it's good for the future. And we will continue that recruitment of younger, USSF referees now that we work off the same system. We've been working on the boys draw from the Denver metro area and northern Colorado. We've run the draw now, I think, about 8 times. The last being last night, which ended about 11:30 Mountain Time. So I think we're finally there. Just so you know, we've done it differently this year, as we talked about at the last meeting. So we finally, with the downtime, managed to do a lot of the background admin work so that we can auto-assign. So we have all of the officials rated, all the schools are rated, which means that all the games are rated. And what we're trying to do is match up the top games with the top officials, especially in the center position. With moving away from the 3-whistle to the diagonal system, the center becomes even more important. So we ran that draw again last night. We have, I think, most of the games covered. I think we only have about, out of 1,800 slots, we have about 140 to fill from people who were not signed up for the draw. We are running into problems, even though we requested this, with games on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Everyone wants to play on a Tuesday and a Thursday. Tuesday and Thursday, in some cases, are 4 to 5 times the number of games on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So basically the math doesn't work. So you may have some outages on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You could even have varsity games with only 2 referees. You have sub-varsity with unlikely to be 2 referees, most likely solos. It's just the sheer numbers on those days. But our goal is to cover every game, but the reality is, if there's going to be shortfalls, it's going to be on a Tuesday or a Thursday. We actually have one Tuesday, I think it's April 6th. There are 51 varsity games just in the Denver metro area alone. So that requires 150 referees in a 3-hour window. So it's going to be tough. So we did ask the schools not to schedule every game on a Tuesday and Thursday, but with field availability and that preference, I think that fell on deaf ears, unfortunately. Okay, I'm just looking at I don't have 2 screens here, so I'm working off my notes on my phone. Obviously, when we last met, we had just finished our first half season of the new system, going away from 3-whistle to the diagonal system. That was a while ago. And for some people, that season was uncomfortable because either they'd never operated under that system or hadn't done it in years. So I think it's still going to be a learning process this spring. in both the C and the D season. And there's going to be a lot of people who have not been on a soccer field in 18 months. So players will be rusty. I'm sure some coaches will be rusty, and sure as hell some referees are going to be rusty. So I think patience all around is required. What else did I have for you? Couple of ideas, or one idea, but before that, we historically, high school soccer referees and the club side of things through Colorado Soccer have not had the best relationship. The good news is that has improved significantly. I've had a couple of meetings with Colorado Soccer, with Nate Schatz, their CEO, S.A. Barmhurst, Neil Fawcett, who's the state referee administrator for USSF. So we're trying to work together, because essentially what we're looking at now is the same pool of referees. There's a big overlap. There's some high school referees only do high school, and there's some club referees only do club. But there's a big group in the middle that cross over. So we're trying to do more together. We're trying to avoid date conflicts with big tournaments. We're trying to avoid overloading Saturday with high school games, because that's when most club games are played. So that there's a lot more cooperation. The other thing we want to tap into CSA for is their training and education, because they have the national, USSF powerhouse behind it in terms of educating referees. And as it's the same talent pool, we want to tap into that resource. So that's good news. I think we've made some progress in the downtime about working together with them, and we meet regularly. The last thing I wanted to throw out is an idea we've been kicking around, and it actually came out of one of the CSA meetings. And it's about engaging high school soccer players to become referees, or at least to take the referee course so that they understand the laws or the rules of the game. The thought was, we're going to be really short on sub-varsity referees, and we wanted to look at using high school players, especially juniors and seniors, to become referees for their off-season. So boys for the girls' season, girls for the boys' season, so that they can referee sub-varsity games. CSA have offered free training to take the USSF course to become a certified referee. Whether they referee or not is obviously up to them. But if they take the course, they have the knowledge, it helps their team, it certainly helps their coach. Hopefully it helps the referees out in the field, because they're not yelling about something they don't know about. And they have an opportunity to make some money either doing high school sub-varsity on the flip season, or USSF games at the weekend. So I wanted to throw that out there for thoughts, feedback, discussion. But I think it's a great way not only just to educate our student athletes, but to engage them in thinking about possibly refereeing and helping out the game.
Ken, I had a question for you. And you and I spoke last night, and you had mentioned, that this year you had seen quite a few like double headers, triple headers at some of the district stadiums. How much did that help in you being able to fill, especially like April 6th, you said, where we had, I think you said 150 slots that needed to be filled. If it weren't for those double and triple headers, would we have been able to fill all these games?
No chance, not even close. So what we have done, and one of the reasons the assigning took so long, I mean, there was a whole bunch of issues, duplicate games and same teams playing home and away, and there's a lot of cleanup needed done. One of the things that took a lot of time is we had to link games before we can run the draw. So if there's a game at North Stadium, there's back-to-back games. We had to link those so they would assign them together. So basically, all the stadiums or wherever we saw back-to-back games, and that includes varsity and JV at the same site, those games were all linked so that we basically have the same crew for those games. So if it's a varsity doubleheader, we flip the center for the second game, but essentially you have the same 3 referees. That also takes a bit of manipulation because that crew needs 2 referees capable of being the center of a game. So the auto assigning arbiter does its job, but we have to go in and do disaster checks and make sure, that there aren't any problems. So that actually will happen today from last night's draw, and then we should be in a position to publish either tonight or tomorrow morning the full assignments for the whole season. That will also show you at this stage what the gaps are, and we're going to be scrambling in the next 2 weeks to fill those.
Ken, from the perspective of an official that's in charge of all this, do you feel like the moving from the 3 whistle system to the single whistle system has helped with recruitment, or is it making these scheduling easier? I mean, I know when you're doing a back-to-back, having at least 2 people capable of running the middle, that might be cumbersome when you got 50 games on a Tuesday. But I mean, overall, has it been a pretty well received? And I open this question up to other committee members as far as feedback that I mean, we've kind of only had one season with the single ref in the middle. But what are your thoughts?
I think it's been mixed. I think people in general are resistant to change. So the older guard didn't like it. They didn't like the power being taken away of having a whistle in their mouth, even if they were on the side. They didn't like the idea of running up and down a line with a flag because they hadn't done it either ever or in many, many years. So to answer your question on recruitment, we have lost a lot of people. But if I'm being a bit more cynical about it, we'd have lost those people pretty soon anyway because they were going to age out. So right. we probably accelerated people leaving by a few years. On the flip side, it will be much easier to recruit younger referees into this system. Yeah. So if I'm talking about today in this particular season, it's probably neutral to slightly down in terms of numbers. But if I'm looking ahead to the future, I think there's a much more solid foundation there to build from as we feed in new referees. And not only feed them in, but we have to actively promote them. Thinking back to even when I joined, I didn't start refereeing until I was in my 40s. And my first season in high school, it was like, how the hell do I get a decent game? I'm new, but I'm competent, and I'm not getting any good games. So we took the view, or certainly in my first season, I've only had this one season as president, essentially, which was the fall of 2019. But having gone to the trouble of recruiting good young referees, we encouraged their use. We waived the provisional. You have to do 20 games before you get to do a varsity. So I think it's not just recruitment, but you have to look after the people you recruit and make sure they are, being mentored, they're getting the games they need, they're being challenged, they're working with experienced officials who can give them feedback and also give us feedback. Hey, these kids are ready. They're the real deal. So,
and if I'm not mistaken, there were a lot of club officials also that saw the parallels now and the consistencies with high school coaching that we can draw from a lot of those club officials as well.
Yeah, very much so. And I suppose the one, and time will tell on this one, but so I think we're probably slightly down in numbers, about 280. Normally when we start a season, we're around about 320, but we have a shorter season, so we should be okay apart from the odd Tuesday or Thursday here or there. In talking to some people who were doing this back in the 2008, 2009 when we had the recession, with people either out of work or working from home or unemployed or underemployed, referee numbers tend to grow because people are looking at ways to make some money. Now, you don't always get that's not always the best motivation for a referee doing it for the money, but it is a motivation. So we may be successful in recruiting some more people either over from the club side or just coming into the game. So, but as I say, I think we have a much more solid foundation going forward, and we'll continue to recruit. We welcome anyone, but the younger the better, because then we've got them for a while.
Yeah. Open this up to committee members. Anybody have anything for Ken?
Yeah, Ken, you mentioned the program to get high school seniors and juniors working sub-varsity games. I really like that idea, and I just had a couple questions. Could you talk a little bit about how you would run, or how the CSA training runs? Like, would you bring them into like a team practice and try to train a bunch at once?
No, it's all online. They have got this really well organized. You do it at your own pace. There's a lot of video instruction, which I love. So it's not about kind of essentially reading a book online. It's a series of modules, and you're watching game film and video, and you have to give your answer, and then it kind of talks you through the right answer, whether it's yours or not. So it's they've invested a lot of time and money at the national level to put on this online training. In addition to that, during the season, not so much. In the off season, certainly weekly. During the season, monthly, there are online seminars and courses. They usually pick one topic, handball, offside, whatever, and then they have a 2-hour Zoom session with video. You've got national instructors. We're very lucky in Colorado. We have A.C. Barmhurst, who was a FIFA referee. He's now a FIFA instructor. So we get all the FIFA films. So when they go and do a big tournament, they do the World Cup. When A.C. comes back from the World Cup, he shares all the training videos with us that the World Cup referees have been through. So, I mean, it's top-notch stuff. And that's what I was really keen that on the high school side, we can tap into that. So any kids that are signing up for this training, once they're in the training program, they can be as engaged as they want to be. And there's a lot of education and a lot of really cool stuff on there.
And then is the idea that those kids would do the same school games, or they would be assigned just like any other referee to sub-varsity games across the city?
They could do both. I mean, I personally, and again, this is up to, open to debate. The easiest thing to do would be, hey, let's take the level 3 or even lower level JV and assign it through the school. I think you start with level 3 because they're not. I don't know how they're going to get referees. So it was really how do we cover games? And as I talked to some coaches in some schools, I found out that this was happening anyway. Especially in the girls' season, they use some boys soccer players to referee their games. So why not? If we're going to do that, which I think is a good idea, let's do it the right way and let's give them the training they need to succeed. But also to help them as soccer players because they really understand. I'll never forget a guy screaming at me. He took a free kick inside his own penalty area, coming out. He took a free kick. There was a second touch inside the area, and I blew the whistle. And I said, "No, the ball has to leave the area." "No, it doesn't. Who made up that rule?" I'm like, "Dude, I'll show you the rule book after the game. Goal kick and free kick has to come out of the box." Now, it's under the old rules, not anymore. But again, that the more that players are up to date, and there's been so many law changes in the last 18 months, I think it will really help players.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest benefits is just having the kids who are currently playing learning more.
Yeah. And if this isn't, I think, some coaches will really embrace this. and probably demand our kids go through it, and other coaches won't. But I think the more the coaches are behind it, the stronger the idea will be, and the more success we'll have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Anybody else with any comments for Ken?
And Ken, I would just, or I guess just for the group, I would encourage, we have, I think, 40 people watching on YouTube, obviously the committee members. If you have any thoughts or an opinion on high school officials, working sub-varsity games, feel free to reach out to us at CHSAA or, to Sean as the Coaches Association president with your feedback. And that's something that then we can work with Ken and then HSSO and hopefully making that happen if it seems to be something that people are really in favor of. Obviously, Ken talked about only one official as a strong possibility for a lot of lower level games this year. You guys have been pretty used to that over the years. And so this just might be a way to, increase some of those numbers so that you're not looking at just Ironman crews with lower level. So.
Yeah. And I think even to kick it off, you pair, if it works, you pair one of the high school kids with another official.
Right.
And you don't just throw them out there solo game
Right.
one, especially if it's a girl and a boys game. That can be a little intimidating. The last thing I wanted to bring up just before I close is just to share some feedback I've had from officials as we come into these spring seasons. And it's interesting. People have got so many questions, obviously, about COVID and protocols and everything else. And I know Justin and a subgroup have really worked hard on flushing those out. But I think that the single biggest concern from referees who have approached me is that referees that they're concerned that they will be the COVID police, that they are the ones policing the protocols. And the one thing I wanted to stress is, and it's written in the guidelines, the referees are not the COVID police. We're there to referee the game. We're not there to tell people to put their masks on or what to do around any of those protocols. That is not the role of the referees. So just so you know, that is a big concern as we come into the season. And obviously we'll address it with our membership, but I just wanted to share with this group that of all the feedback I've had, that's the biggest single concern.
That's good to know. Yeah. It's as many people that are out there, that's as many opinions that there is about wearing the mask, but we got to follow the variances and who enforces it. It's going to land on personal responsibility and coaches and really takes a video to shut it down. So we got to really be aware of what the restrictions are and making sure everybody is that your team that you're responsible for is compliant. So I'll stop with my opinions there, otherwise I'm going to go off the rails. So all right, moving on. So Ken, thank you for everything. Thanks for all your hard work. I still love the idea at our last championship game, promoting that 18-year-old female official. So that's just one of the great things that we celebrate, and just like you said, promoting the good ones and giving them opportunities that I can't see them having in a lot of other states. So you do a great job and building and recruiting. I like the video option for juniors and seniors. A lot of kids don't pursue it because they don't know what's available to them. And if they know that's available to them, even in a pandemic where people are looking for extra jobs and stuff, make it available to them, and maybe we see an uptick in good officials, young officials, starting at the junior senior level. So good job, great job to you. So thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Moving on, Sean, you got a Coaches Association report?
I have a very short one.
Very good.
Good morning, everybody. So As Justin alluded to in the beginning of the meeting, we haven't had a game since we met last time, not on the boys' side, not on the girls' side. And we've had a few meetings with coaches here and there, but nothing really formal as we would have had at the end of each of those seasons. But looking back, I think a lot of coaches are really eager to see how the RPI pans out. That's always a hot topic in our meetings. And I think the new formula might provide that the input they were looking for. We're promoting the coaches to get involved on a higher level in those coaches polls. If that's really the input that we need, then we need to be responsible enough as coaches to put that in there. Kind of going to the last meeting, the mercy rule was addressed. And the biggest talking point I think that we were discussing, and this is maybe not the right meeting, but Justin, you can let me know about that. But
Sure.
Looking at the dates for the boys season and their regular season, they've got 11 weeks to play 15 games, and then they've got an 18-day playoff window. Looking at the girls calendar that's on the CHSAA website now, again, so it looks the same, 11 weeks to play the 15 games. But if we matched up the 18-day playoff, that puts the girls' state championships on Memorial Day weekend again. And I know in the last meeting last year, we talked about trying to avoid that.
Yeah, won't happen. Yeah, won't happen. Yeah.
Won't happen.
Won't happen because they'll probably condense that, or because the girls might start a week earlier.
Correct. Right now, it would be, the playoff would be just a little bit condensed so that we would finish before that weekend. So you're talking like it would only require like 3 days of condensing. Like in that first week, I think in boys, you only play one game and you would get 2 games in girls. That'd be like the only difference. So that we would avoid Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know from just speaking a little bit with Ken and last year, that was a really tough thing for the referees to try to pull off, as that's the biggest.
100%. Yeah, we will avoid Memorial Day weekend. Obviously, there's that one-off like every 7 years, just the way the calendar falls, where the last day in May is a Sunday as opposed to a Monday, and so you get like that's where Memorial Day falls on like the 23rd or 24th, which is odd. But no, we will 100%. We're not going to look at girls' dates just because it's so far in advance, but it will not be Memorial Day. That much I can promise you.
I just know that would have been a talking point, but thank you for that. And I think pretty similar to what Ken said, our coaching membership is growing and growing. We've got over 100 members on each boys and the girls side now that are becoming more active in having a voice in high school soccer. So I think it's trending in the right way. And until we have a formal season coming up here with the boys and the girls, I think then we'll have some more talking points. But that's it for me.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your work on that and that feedback. I know we're going to be working on the women's schedule after we get variances and stuff for the next school year. We're going to go over the calendar review for the boys season here shortly after Justin's CHSAA update. So Justin, you want to take over the update?
Yeah, perfect. And Sean, just for you, we talked about it a little bit at the beginning. We did get those variance approvals, and so I'll probably give you a call here after this meeting just to talk to you a little bit, and then we'll schedule another Zoom with the coaches and administrators just to go over those again from CHSAA. Shouldn't be a whole lot of updates, but I'll give you a call sometime today, probably. Just
awesome. Thank you.
Yep. So we've got let me just scroll down here on the agenda here. Sorry. So we've got CHSAA updates again. There's not a whole lot to discuss. We've saying it all meeting. This is our second one now without having played a single game. So I just really want to remind people of kind of what we did put in place at our committee meeting last year. There's been a lot of changes with COVID, shorter season, all that kind of stuff. CDPHE came out today with their letter and said in very bold letters, reduce travel as their one of their top priorities. So there's some things that have changed. And I just want to remind people that once we can get back to normal, we will open things back up. Every sport, that we oversee, we've increased the playoff bracket, soccer being one of those sports as well, where we increased the playoff bracket. And trust me, I am looking forward to, as much as anybody, that increased playoff bracket that these committees have put forward and legislative councils approved. So starting in hopefully, and Sean, I did say, I promise you there will be no Memorial Day, but I should know now with COVID, like, not to promise anything. So obviously the intention is not to be a Memorial Day, but I don't want to, I shouldn't promise anything, because who the heck knows. But the hope obviously next year is to be back to a normal schedule as far as, boys in the fall and girls in the spring and number of games. That's 100% our intention. And I really hope that we're there. And when that is the case, this committee has put forward and it was approved to increase the 2A bracket now to 16 teams. And so we are really, really excited about that coming on board. And we've got and we'll see it as you look down the calendar. It was required that those kind of back how we used to do it, where one regional location, so the top seed, the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds would host those opening round games at one central location for a Friday and Saturday. We did hear from a lot of our Western Slope and sort of more isolated, smaller 2A schools and superintendents and districts were really reaching out to CHSAA and say, hey, this travel that we've got in 2A is not really manageable, and we're not sure if we can continue to send schools for 2-3 day trips and then come back and then make another one. And so the committee listened, and I really just want to thank everyone last year that was a part of making sure that, hey, if you look at the 2A playoff calendar, we're really Friday, Saturday, like we are really on the weekends to try to accommodate those smaller schools for travel. And so we will increase that bracket with 2A. It'll be a Friday, Saturday opening round. Boys, I then believe, goes to a Saturday semifinal, and then a Saturday championship. So really, if you're a 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed, you're never playing a game that's not on a Saturday. And then with girls, your Saturday for the first and second round, your semifinal is on a Saturday, and then your championship game falls, I believe, in the middle of the week. So there would just be one travel date during the week for 2A girls, and that would just be for the top 2 teams. And so really, again, just want to thank the committee for their work and listening to some of those rural schools and some of our superintendents that asked for travel to be reduced. And we did that. So thank you. Sean touched on it a little bit earlier in his report about the new seating formula, and I was excited to kind of see how that's going to play out. Just a reminder, that will take effect immediately. So this year with season C and D, boys and girls, we will be seeding the playoff bracket based on the new seating formula. And so your at-large bids will be determined that way as well, using the coaches poll now. We'd used in years past, the coaches sort of had that voice in the room where they would put a poll together that the seeding committee would look at and use as a way they would weigh into seed teams. And now the coaches' voice is back in the room. I think we can all agree that the coaches know the sport as well as anybody in the state. And so we've got obviously multiple data points available to us, RPI, max preps that we're going to use. But now we've got that coaches poll that will be 33%. It'll count equally as with RPI and max preps to seed our teams and to get them, not only seed them, but to get them into the tournament as well. And so we're really excited about that. I can tell you that just having looked at it with season B currently, I oversee ice hockey as well. And I'm loving it. I can tell you that the way the seeds are coming out using that new seeding formula, to me, just looks like it's very, very accurate, and we are going to get the right teams. Especially, it's so important this year. People were worried, well, we've got these reduced seasons, and obviously there's some limit on who you can play this year. You have fewer opportunities to get those, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 games. We only have 10 games this year. And so people were worried, well, I'm not going to maybe see some teams that I used to see. How is this going to be ranked? How will it be accurate? And I can just tell you from what I've seen, not to worry about that this year, because to me, it looks very accurate. And I think we're going to get the right teams into the postseason. And then moving forward into the future years where we're playing those full seasons, I think it'll only get better. So kind of look out for that. If you're someone that has a hockey program at your school, you can follow along there. If you're a hockey fan or you just want to just kind of take a look to kind of see what's going on with hockey, we'll have that first release of that new seeding formula rankings this week. Ryan will get that out. And so obviously you can follow along RPI and max preps throughout the year, but we're going to release that for the first time. And I think people will be really really pleased with how that looks. So again, just a reminder that the new seating formula was another change from last year's soccer committee report. And that will take effect immediately for season C and D, and then moving forward as well. So any questions from the committee on anything around the changes that we made last year?
Justin, the coaches get an invite from CHSAA to vote in the poll, correct?
Exactly right. And I think Ryan's on here. I know he's kind of shuffling between two meetings. So if you heard that question, Ryan, you can also feel free to jump in. But yes, Ryan, and I see Ryan, you just unmuted yourself. So go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. So we send it out multiple times to coaches. Of course, some coaches don't get it or don't act on it until after the preseason poll. So we are adding coaches a couple weeks into the season, though we will have a minimum. And I'm sorry, I don't know what it was going to be for soccer, but we'll have a minimum that they need to meet. So at a certain point, we will stop adding coaches since it's mathematically impossible for them to meet the minimum. But I would encourage you to just help get any coach that signed up that wants to vote. We've seen it in basketball and hockey already this year where coaches are like, hey, can I get signed up? And, it's a week before the seating meeting. So it's obviously a little bit late. But yeah, any help we can get to get coaches signed up, any coach can vote. And we do have, I don't know if you guys have talked about it, we have a pretty thorough auditing process as well.
Yes, and I'll just talk on that. So ice hockey coaches have been getting emails from Ryan and I saying, hey, this poll isn't adding up. And so we are looking at that very, very closely. And you will hear from us if we see something that just flat out doesn't make sense. Obviously, we'll reach out to you and ask the coach to explain themselves. And if they can give what seems like a reasonable explanation, then we'll take them at their word. But there's some polls that just are not making any sense. And so we're trust me, we're making sure that this is an accurate poll. I think everybody is going to be really, really pleased with what the final product is. And I'll probably lean on Sean and Justin and some of our coaches that are on this committee. And obviously Sean as the president to say, hey, everyone got that email from Ryan here in the beginning of week 1, and to make sure that all of our coaches are signing up to get those polls in a weekly basis. I believe you could only miss one poll during the season. So if you miss one, that's okay. If you miss a second, now you're not able to vote in the last poll of the season, which is the one that ultimately decides. The ones throughout the year kind of give you an idea of where you're at. But the last poll that the coaches do is the one that ultimately counts for their third of the seeding process. So and you cannot vote if you miss multiple weeks. And that's for a couple of reasons: to make sure that you're engaged throughout the year and looking at how teams are actually doing, and to make sure that we're looking at your polls so that you don't surprise us the last week. So you're getting emails from us throughout the week. Hey, this isn't looking right. Let's make sure we see something next week that's better. And if it continues, then we'll just not use that poll. So just a reminder, and on how that's going to work, and hopefully we'll get the coaches involved as well to help us.
And do just want to say, overwhelmingly, the coaches are doing a wonderful job.
Oh yeah, 99%. Yeah. It's been perfect.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sorry.
About that. So are we going to be expanding the coaches poll to more than just the 10 teams, since it's going to be affecting all?
I forget. So it was agreed upon. It was agreed upon by this committee last year, and I apologize. I can try to pull that number up. Dan, do you remember if it was 10 or 12 that we said for?
It was
12.
yeah,
12. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's 12.
And I think you guys could basketball's going 15 this winter, and it seems to be going just fine. So if you wanted to go further to 15, that's fine. 12.
I would say we haven't even seen it once with 12. So
Totally.
to make a change on something that we put out seems, and Dan, as a chair, please feel free to jump in. But to me, it's like, hey, let's look at 12.
Let it happen. Yeah.
Totally, and if we feel like that wasn't appropriate, I can tell you we're doing, Ryan, what's the number with hockey?
Hockey's 10, but we have 17 teams.
Yeah, 10. And I can just tell you with those 10, it's been very, very, very accurate. I think we'll get a very accurate number with 12. And if the coaches feel like when we look at those numbers, it's not adding up, then we can obviously talk about expanding as well.
Yeah. Good.
Any other questions on any of the changes from?
I have a couple coaches that just sent me a text. If they can't find the emails, do they reach out do they reach out to you, Ryan? Do they reach out to you, Justin? Who do they
Yep.
email?
Yep, both for sure. If they don't
And
get an
emails have not
email,
been sent out yet.
oh yeah, there has been no email yet. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So no need to reach out yet. But as we get into the season, the first week of the season, Ryan, when will you send out the first one?
You know, I'll probably have to do it either this week or next. We will have it'll probably be this week is what I'm guessing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say if you don't get one by Monday of next week, then yeah, reach out for sure. Because there's a possibility that maybe a letter was incorrect in your email, or maybe we had the wrong email. So if by Monday, because there's no rush, because practice starts on Monday. So if you don't get one by next week, just reach out and we'll make sure that we get you on there. And then Sean will probably lean on you to say, hey, our numbers in 2A are low, or our numbers in 4A signed up are pretty low. Can you get some stuff out to remind some coaches?
Will that be just for the preseason?
Yeah, that one will be the preseason. I don't think we have any requirement to vote in that preseason poll.
Okay.
Once
Right.
the
I was
regular-
wondering if that was I was just wondering if that was one of the ones that you could miss or not.
Yes, I mean, what we kind of see the preseason as a bonus. If you vote in that one, you kind of give yourself some leeway during the regular season.
Yeah, and you don't. I think what we said was that we had a percentage that you could miss, but like with such a short season, the percent comes out to if you miss 2, that's it. So if you miss a second poll, but we won't count if you don't do the preseason poll, we won't count that as one of the 2 that you can miss.
Hey, Ryan, Casey. So the high success of the coaches voting in this poll, where it's not so successful, would you say that that's because of the lack of education of a coach on how to coach for the coaches poll, not voting specifically for their team as a number 1 team, and
Sure.
that
Yeah,
kind of
I think
false?
Yeah, I think that's true. We kind of send out like a guide each week about here's how to vote. We can certainly kind of reinforce that the intent of this poll is not to help your team reach the postseason. The intent of the poll is to rank the teams as coaches see fit 1 through 12 within your own classification. So where we have kind of sent emails is a coach will misunderstand and say, well, I'm just trying to give my team a shot at the postseason. Well, that's not the intent. And in almost every single case, the coach says, got it, and they fix it the next week.
Yeah. So hypothetically, if that ever happened with hockey, right, you'd send a message to the
hypothetically, Dan.
My bad.
Yeah, we're not naming anybody.
All right. So Justin, you want to follow up with the leagues and the cycle classifications? Yeah.
So I just want to kind of give this committee a heads up as we move forward. Obviously, this year, like I said, we haven't played since the last meeting. I anticipate that this committee will have quite a bit on their plate next year as we look into the 22-24 cycle. And so I just kind of wanted to update everyone on some new teams that will be coming into boys and girls soccer in the 22-24 cycle, as well as sort of the classification breakdowns. If you guys have any questions, and just kind of get you guys prepared for some of the things that you might want to consider again as we look at changes that are possible moving on to the next cycle. And so let's just start with the new programs. And again, we're really excited. Everything that we do as a committee is to try to build the sport of soccer. And so we want new programs coming on board every opportunity that we get. And we're excited that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 new boys programs that'll be coming in the 22-24 cycle, and 5 new girls programs. And so our boys programs that are brand new in 22-24 are STEM Highlands Ranch, Resurrection Christian, very excited, Dan, Timnath and Wellington, which are a couple of new schools up in the Pooter school district. Gunnison Boys will be coming on with hopefully a program 22-24. Those are all going to be schools that'll fall in the 3A classification. So all those schools will be 3A schools that I just mentioned there. And then we've got a couple of new schools that fall into the 2A classification. And those are for boys, Twin Peaks Charter, Windsor Charter, and Vanguard Classical. So we've got 5 3A schools and 3 2A schools for boys that'll be coming on board. And obviously that'll be pending approval of the clock committee report at the Legislative Council in May. So just those were the boys. Let me just run through the girls programs. Again, they're 3A and 2A new school additions. So we've got in 3A, STEM Highlands Ranch will come on for the girls as well. Timnath and Wellington will also add girls programs from that Poudre School District. They are 3A additions, those 3. And then the 2A additions are Windsor Charter and Vanguard Classical, which will be 2A additions for boys and girls. And so then I kind of like to give you the breakdown. There's too many schools to go through as far as there's going to be some changes in classification, again, pending the approval of the clock report at Legislative Council. There will be some changes in the classification breakdown. I kind of want to go over those with you now. So this year, this current cycle, which we're in year 1 of, we have 59 boys 5A schools. And in 22-24, that number will be 56. We've currently got 72 schools at the 4A classification. That number will be 69 in the 22-24 cycle. We currently have 59 schools at 3A, and we will have 59 schools at 3A in 22-24. So no change there. There will be some, obviously, some additions and some changes on who those schools are, but the numbers will be the exact same. And then where we really have the increase, and which I'm excited about, is at 2A. You know, for years, we were trying to grow 2A soccer. It came on as a new classification. You know, we had at some points below 30 schools. We have 32 currently at the 2A classification, but in the 22-24 cycle, very excited that we'll have 43 schools at 2A, 43 schools at the 2A classification, 22-24. So that's a breakdown of the boys' numbers. For the girls, we have 56 currently at 5A classification. We'll have 56 schools in 22-24, so no change there. 4A, we currently have 75 schools at 4A, and that will change quite a bit to 64. 64 schools will be at 4A in the 22-24 cycle. We currently have 61 3A schools. That number will increase to 64. So we'll have 64 3A schools in 22-24. And again, very excited about our 2A and how we're growing the sport of soccer, and we're growing 2A. Currently, we have 39 schools at 2A. 22-24 cycle, we will have 52 schools that'll be competing at the 2A classification. So I think that's, Dan, probably something for next year's agenda to discuss, even expanding that playoff bracket at 2A even further as a possibility. So that's the breakdown of the next cycle. And if you guys have any questions for me, I can answer those.
Well, I think that's exciting to see 2A. Like you said, that was, you know, trying to figure out if that was the best thing to do to add that classification. Clearly it was. The soccer's moving in Colorado and providing more opportunities for those, especially for those smaller schools to, you know, to explore the opportunity and not feel like they're going to get crushed at the 3A level every time. So
Absolutely.
that was a good move.
Anybody else before we move on?
It sounds like we need some more referees.
Well, your report was very encouraging, numbers wise. I can tell you that soccer, and Ken, this is, I didn't say it at the report, but soccer, I think, is in a spot with their officials that with just the sheer number and volume of teams that we have to be able to get these covered like you did. It's just an incredible job, the work you guys did as an association. So I feel very comfortable knowing that we are in very good hands with our Soccer Officials Association to be able to get these games covered. So.
Yep. All right, Justin, take over the calendar review.
Perfect.
And then
yeah, so let me just kind of, and this is where the committee, you guys need to be jumping in here, but let me just give you some of the thought process in here, and then obviously you guys, you know, speak your mind, and we can make adjustments here as needed. Obviously, the formal practice date and those dates, we're not changing those. But as we get into the postseason, some of those dates, obviously, if you guys see some issues or some concerns, please feel free. First formal practice will be August 9th. The first scrimmage date, again, we're hoping to get back to normal and we're back to playing scrimmages next year. That'll be on the 14th. The first contest will be on the 19th. Regular season games will be completed by October 23rd, and then we're going to start to get into the postseason there. And so kind of what we were thinking, and let me just give you some of the thought process was, obviously with the brackets coming out on the 25th, you want to give that advance notice to schools to be able to make their travel. And obviously 3A and 4A is where you're going to see the majority of those Western Slope schools. Maybe somebody's going out there, or they're coming over here. And so 5A really, you're almost exclusively along the I-25 corridor. So their games would come first on, I believe, that Tuesday, the 27th. You would then see the 3A, 4A games on the 28th, which would be, I believe, or maybe the 27th is a Wednesday. Yeah, so sorry, Wednesday the 27th would be the 5A games, 28th, Thursday, 3A, 4A, and then the 29th, 30th, as we spoke about earlier, would be that Friday, Saturday that this committee required for the 2A games to reduce that travel. So then you would see those games come in on Friday and Saturday. We would then go into the next week. November 2nd is a Tuesday, and so we'd have 5A on Tuesday. Wednesday, you would have the 3A, 4A second round games. And then again, we would come in on Saturday with that next slate of games, all your quarterfinal games. We've got 2A again on a Saturday to limit that travel for them. And then we finish up with the semifinals the following week for 3A, 4A, 5A, and then all classes. And then Dan, you and I were speaking about this earlier. I don't know if it's possible. I'd like to get feedback from the committee, but we had considered one big basically event on a Saturday, trying to get all 4 classifications in. I don't know if it'll work with Dick's Sporting Goods Park, but something to consider. I know last year it was an issue. We had a 5A championship game on a Friday night where Broomfield and Regis, Broomfield, I know they did a great job and planned ahead for that with their football playoff schedule, but not always possible with every school with district stadiums and how they can do that. And so I know Regis had a game with football that Friday night, and I think it really impacted our ticketing numbers. And so something to think about, maybe just going on Saturday, avoid that Friday football. Obviously, 2A and 3A, they were coming from quite a distance. So, them on Saturday makes a lot of sense. But for me, if we can find a venue, or if Dick's Sporting Goods is willing, I kind of like the idea of a Saturday, but I'll turn that over to the committee and to get your guys' opinion on kind of what you think about the calendar for the boys.
Anyone?
Yeah, not everybody at once.
Right.
There was talk of potentially the new stadium in downtown Colorado Springs. Is that still something that's on the table?
Yep. So I actually did a site visit. I did a site visit there a couple of weeks ago, and it's certainly not a venue that would be ruled out, but just for obviously full disclosure and just to open this, like their price point was not even something that I could even consider at this point. They were almost 3 times what we were getting bidded out for other venues. And so obviously Colorado Springs is something that we're still looking into. I know they're willing to work with us on a number, but right now they're just not able to meet some of those needs. It's a great facility. It's going to be beautiful. I think it has potential to become a host site, but they would have to be willing to work with us on the numbers.
Dustin, what would the seating capacity have to be for a state final?
It really depends. We'd have to kind of go back and look at some of those numbers, but I look at something that would hold, at least especially with carryover games, if we go to all Saturday where you're going to have, maybe multiple games in there at one time, where, somebody's waiting for their game. So you have crowds from both inside the stadium, somewhere in the range of about 7,500 is a number. We could look at that, and something a little bit less could be considered if they met some of the other, bullet points, but 7,500 would be probably an ideal number that we would want, somewhere around there. But if it was like 6,000, that would certainly not rule anyone out.
It's good to know.
As far as these dates, does everybody, these dates are pretty much identical? Sean, Justin, do these look like dates? I know these were basically what we approved, last year. We didn't really make, the only changes you're going to see are obviously now the committee put forward and legislative council approved this Friday, Saturday opening round for 2A, and then just the Saturday. Sean, would you guys, or would this committee be okay if Dick's Sporting Goods Park, obviously Dick's Sporting Goods Park might come back and say, or any venue that we would go to might come back and say, no, we need it on a Friday, Saturday, which would then, put us back to the normal calendar. But if we could do it all on a Saturday, would you guys that's something that you would be interested in?
Yeah, this has come up a couple times, but I think the biggest concern from the coaches would be the timing. If one game were to go into overtime or kicks, then it just, your 5A game, if they're the last ones, they could be delayed hours.
Sure.
So that was the biggest concern from our end of just, if it all works out, it's great. That I think I used to remember, I thought CHSAA had something like the Super Soccer Saturday a long time ago, but
yeah. And that's kind of what I was thinking, like, hey, let's make this just a great event on a Saturday. But obviously, if Dan and I were talking before, and Dan recalled pretty well that year where, they were like, hey, the sun needs to be on the grass for X amount of time before we're going to let anybody kick off, because it was cold, obviously, in November. And so Dick's Sporting Goods Park might not be happy. And there might be a lot of venues that wouldn't love the idea of us being on there if they have a natural grass surface, being on there for 4 games in a day. But it's, just to me, it seems like a Super Saturday would be kind of a fun thing, but there obviously are some concerns as well. Anybody else see any issues with us looking to, procure a date on just Saturday? Okay, well, Dan, before we look at that, I'll obviously come, talk with you as the chair. And so if anybody raises concerns later, we can discuss that and look at, some adjustments. But for me, I think it's kind of cool. Obviously we're going this year just with COVID, because we're going to an all day event. So I guess we'll get an idea, Sean, of how it works, because with COVID, we're doing it. But yeah, Dan, you and I can speak on that. Anybody have any other issues with what the calendar dates? If not, we would just need Dan motion to approve in a second, and then just a vote on this calendar, and we'll lock it in for boys 2021.
Yeah, I would like to get a motion to approve this calendar. I think Justin and I think we'll probably do a stadium series, little travel just to look around at different other maybe college stadiums that might be available on that. Give us an all day. I love the idea of playing all of our games on a Super Saturday. I think that'd be awesome. Just got to find the right venue, right place. But anyway, a motion for approving the calendar.
I motion, Kevin Ray.
Second? Anybody?
I second.
All right, Justin Thomas seconds. All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thumbs up. Aye. All right.
Perfect. Now, Dan, I'd just like to say that the girls' schedule, we will look at that at our committee meeting, because we will have that time. We'll meet like in November, late November, early December, to be able to look at those dates. And just for me right now, to try to plan out an event 15 months from now with so much uncertainty around COVID, just seems impossible. So if anyone's asking, well, where are the girls at? this committee will meet obviously before that season kicks off, and we'll just confirm those playoff dates.
Yep, for sure.
Justin, you may have no idea what this looks like, but will CDPHE require you guys to submit variances for the fall again?
Oh man, it's a great question. I couldn't give you that answer. It's certainly possible.
Yeah. All right. Anything else for the good of the order? All right.
Take a
Justin,
motion to adjourn then.
well, I gotta say, I gotta throw you under the bus. It's not Tim Nath. It's
Oh, sorry.
It's Timnath.
Okay, well, once they start playing, I'll pronounce it right.
I'm just protecting you from a bunch of emails from NOCO people.
Right, angry Tinithians, yeah.
Yeah, Tinithians. All right. Hey, yeah, motion to close. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
A motion, Kevin Ray.
Second.
Seconded.
All right, Mike, thank you. All right, everybody, thanks for your time. Thanks for your commitment. You guys can feel free to send me any emails as well. And if anybody has any questions or things that they want to put on the agenda or see looked at, I think we've made some just review of some of the things that we've done, moving the whistle system and adding two-way classification for girls and minimums for playoffs. And I think we've done a lot of good things to help the sport, recruiting of officials with Ken's help. And I think we're doing good stuff. But if there's anything else you guys want to help change, that's why you're on the committee. So shoot your ideas my way and Justin's way and see what we can do. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good rest of the year.
Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.